Okay, everybody, so we just learned how to do a basic cutout, and now I want to show you how to do it again using a different tool. Now, if I've already done a project in Photoshop and I want to start over, Photoshop only allows you to undo one step, which is a little frustrating if you need to step back, many steps. If you look on your over here on the right side, you'll see a little button that says History. If you don't see it here, go to Window, History, and that's where all of the panels live. And you can load up all of these tools over here. They're just additional tool sets. And History is a good one to have out. So you'll see it as a little back arrow with some dots. And if you kind of stretch this out, you can see all of the steps that you've taken in this project. So if I messed up, I could step back a few steps to where it was working last time. And if I take it all the way to the top, kind of there's a scroll bar. If you scroll it all the way up to the top, you'll just start over. So it's a nice way to start something over. And if you don't want to see history, hit this double arrow and it kind of hides it, but it usually lives here. And if it doesn't, you can find it under Window, History. Okay, so I'm starting over. I'm going to go back to this tool, this quick selection tool. And just like I showed you before, if you want to select something, I want to select this flower from its background, I can click on it, and sometimes it works pretty good to grab things, but a lot of times it grabs extra things. One way that I can view this is with the letter Q on the keyboard, or it's this button right here on the toolbar. It's called the quick mask mode. So I can look at it where it shows everything in red that's outside of my selection. So I can see what I've got in there and what I don't. And I can still, oh, I can't. Hold on, I'm going to undo that. You have to use different tools if you want to be in the quick mask. You would use paint brushes. But at this point, I don't want to confuse you too much because I know this is new. So instead, I'm going to hit Q again to get out of it, but it's just one way to see where your lines are. Instead of doing that, I'm going to hit Command D to deselect my ants, just kind of start over. There's a tool up here called Select and Mask. This only works if you've got the quick selection tool on. You'll see this button up here. Select and Mask will take your image and move it into a new dialog box. Now over here, the view, I need to see this on an onion skin. Usually this is the default, but there's different viewing windows. And right now it doesn't look like much because we haven't done much with it, but I'm gonna look at this onion skin. I'm also gonna pull this little toolbar down. This is the quick selection tool just that you were using before, but in this window, it just kind of shows you it in a cool way. Now I can use Option just like I did before. I can make this brush size a little smaller with my bracket keys, hold Option and get rid of that little bit here. Let's say I wanted to paint in this leaf. Well, I can just come in here and click on it. And if I get too much, I hold Option and take that part out. You can just kind of come in and you can be a little bit more precise with what you want in or out of your selection. And if it takes too much, well, then you just hold Option and try to take it out. Now you can also view it in this viewing mode. Like, let me look at it with the marching ants. Okay, let me see it with the overlay. You can kind of see where you are. And if you're doing something difficult like hair, so cutting out somebody's hair, you might want to come in there and look at it a little closer. Now when I see on this black and white, I can see I've got some jaggedy edges, and you might want to try this tool. If I can get it to pop up, I'm looking for Refine Edge. There it is. A Refine Edge will kind of go along the edges and kind of smooth things out a little bit. This is especially important when you have hair. Let me look at it on the marching ants to see if I made things better or worse. Sometimes it's a tool that works out really great and sometimes not so much. But I'm going to go back to that selection part and then just select in this little bit. And again, if I see a part that I don't like, I can just get in there with my Option key. So it's a lot of playing with it. It's kind of messing with it until it looks good. Now it looks like right now my marching ants look pretty good. I can check it on different views, and when I'm ready, then what I'm going to do is come down here, and you can also smooth your edges. So you can drag the slider, and it's supposed to smooth out the edges, smooth out jagged edges, or feather them to make them a little softer. So as you scroll, you can soften your edges a little bit. You never want to do things too extreme. So, just kind of take it down a little bit, smooth your edges a little bit. Now, this is important. How do you get it back? How do you get back to where we were? Well, over here, it'll say output settings. And sometimes these things are stacked like this. But if you go to output settings, we want to output it to a selection. We haven't worked with layer masks yet. Maybe that will be something we'll do another time. But at this point, just do it as a selection and then say OK. And then what that does is takes you right back where you were before. Now you can see your layers panel. You can see your toolbar. And if I have to unlock my background, I still need to go to select inverse, because I got to get my marching ants around the edge. And now I hit the delete key on my keyboard, and there it is. I've got my flower. And if I want to get rid of the marching ants, Command D will deselect the ants. And it's kind of softened the edges. I've got a little bit of the flower, a little nub off of this. And if I don't want that, you could always grab your eraser. It's right here. Make that smaller. So all of these circles, make them bigger or smaller with the bracket keys right next to the letter P. I could just kind of take that part out. So, if you decide, after I don't want that after all, that's okay. You can just come in here with an eraser and kind of get rid of that part. So you can always continue to shape. And if you feel like, oops, I took too much, back it up and go back with your history tool so you can see where you left off. Okay, let's say you love it, you're ready to save it. I would go to File, Save As, because we don't want to just save it, because we don't want to save over the original a lot of times. It'll ask you, first of all, where do you want to save it? Or sometimes it'll look, if you want to expand your view, this is what I'm trying to get to. So sometimes it looks small like this, but if we expand our view over here in the left column, you can see, do you want to save it to your desktop? Or if you look down here in shared, CL Mac, that's our server. And so if you click on THS, journalism, and you find your folder and you can, click on your name, that's another way to save it. For me right now, I'm going to just save it to my desktop. And then I need to save it. If you save it as a Photoshop document, you can come back and continue to edit. But if you save it as a PNG file, it will save the transparency. If you just save it as a JPEG, it will put a white piece of paper back behind it, and that just defeats everything you wanted to do. So I'm going to save it as a PNG, hit save, and it's going to show up. And you just say OK. Whenever Photoshop asks you a question, say OK. And it'll show up out here in a second, maybe. Here it is. So now if I hold my spacebar on my spacebar will kind of zoom in and out on something that I've selected, and there it is. You can tell that my flower's cut out. I can probably get in there and erase away. It looks like there's a little bit of a hairline, something there that I want to get rid of. But that's an easy way to do it. Select and mask is a great tool to learn to use. And then File, Save As, and save it as a PNG file. All right, I think you're ready to start cutting out some more stuff. Good luck.